Jennifer, this is your story about what's going on over at
Yeah,
UW, and I know you have some, in full disclosure, you have some skin in the game in this story.
I do. I am a graduate student in the Department of History at the University of Washington. So I got the emails that they were considering, and I also saw a lot of local news coverage that they were considering some type of sanctions because during the snowstorm, there was a large gathering of a few hundred people on Greek Row at the frat houses having a party. Witnesses say that they were, a lot of people were unmasked. There was a widespread outbreak of COVID on Greek Row earlier in the year, shortly after the pandemic started, then again in the fall. Of course, we reported not long ago, along with other news outlets, that, the UK variant of COVID was actually found in January on the UW campus in the student population. Now they've actually kind of started to crack down a little bit, and it's long overdue.
It's an awful story that we have when we're here on crossing this horrible milestone. We're number one. We're number one. America. Yeah. 500,000 COVID deaths. And one of the things, Jennifer, that pops in my head is, if you remember when you first came on the show here, you first came on the show when that meme was going around about the deadliest days in U.S. history. And there were all these people going, well, yeah, but the 1918 pandemic and 650,000 people. And yeah, we're going to hit 650,000 people. Even if Joe Biden and Fauci and all of them wave some miracle magic wand tonight.
Yep.
There is nothing that's going to stop this freight train of crossing 650,000. And it's like, well, but the population was was smaller in 1918. Yeah. And they didn't know what a virus was in 1918. They didn't have ventilators in 1918. They didn't have antibiotics in 1918. They barely knew about sterilized fields or other issues like that in 1918, which is why so many people died of the flu. And this isn't the flu. It's not even close to the flu.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And the other thing, Jennifer, is we have these variants. There's the South African variant, which is documented as targeting younger adults and hitting them harder. And oh, by the way, they found it in Idaho. And if it's in Idaho, it's in Eastern Washington. And if it's in Eastern Washington, it's only a matter of time before it gets to this side of the Cascades, if it's not already here in community spread.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the things that was so problematic about the Spanish flu is that it targeted otherwise young, healthy people, which is very similar to what this COVID variant in South Africa does. So, the UW has tried to quell people's efforts to leave town for spring break, but that's going to be, I think, an issue in and of itself. It took them long enough to do any kind of sanctions for, the ongoing, basically breaking of protocol and health safety measures on Greek Row. So they've now basically said that students that were in attendance at that party not only have to quarantine, but are not allowed to attend the in-person classes on campus because they are holding a few, especially in the classes that need labs. So, I mean, people just need to be more cautious. We're constantly drawing parallels between the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic and COVID. And I think where we most see that, or could potentially most see that, is if we start to have more of that South African variant spread through the population.
Yeah. And we're in this weird position of like rooting for the B117 variant out of the UK to kick the South Africans variant, because at least the UK variant responds to the Pfizer vaccine, still responds to general treatment, and it spreads a lot more, but it doesn't seem to target groups of populations that weren't targeted like the South African one. So it's like we're rooting for the lesser of two evils here. Hey, let's have a Kegger.
Yes, I know. And then there's so much we still don't know about COVID. What's particularly interesting is, like, can you still catch the South African variant after you had the UK variant? I mean, there's all these unknown variables, which, then again, boggles my mind why people would take those kinds of risks.
Well, the story that we have in there. And again, I'm glad to see that the UW is saying, yeah, your happy asses aren't going into the classroom anytime soon because you dumbasses.
Me too.